around 63 houses either completely or partially destroyed through the data of roads and textures. And from June 27 to July 9, Himachal Pradesh also experienced damage in 11 districts. The 22 casualties were reported due to this flood-like situation and landslide, and houses damaged included 9 fully destroyed houses and 47 partially destroyed houses. In Kerala also faced like in the beginning of the monsoon, they faced some casualties. Around 7 casualties were reported in Kerala as per MHA report, and like 12 houses were either fully or partially destroyed in this street. And in Madhya Pradesh, like in the central region also, they reported impact in either 8 districts with 16 villages affected. There were 2 casualties due to drowning that were also reported. While the Mizoram also reported landslide affecting 11 districts, it was also like it was due to the cyclone Ramal that time, and around 11 districts affected on July 9. After that, also on the due to this rainfall in July 9, 11 districts were affected. 3 casualties were reported, and 27 houses were damaged. This Mizoram itself. Apart from this cyclone flood level situation, this India has also faced cyclones and huge heat wave days in this year, like around 536 heat wave days reported this year, and after that, like the significant variation is there when we compare to last year that on heat wave, and after that, the cyclone have like for example, heat on West Bengal and of this side. And after that, this flood-like situation is also happening in entire region. When we checking the states, we can see the northeastern state, northern region state, and the south and central state and all. So that this flood-like situation due to rainfall, the southwest monsoon is happening in entire regions of India. Like so, here we can discuss about the why these things happen, like the follow-up discussion, and also we can hear some of the preparedness experiences from our local peoples here. So over from my side, Altamish.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you for taking us through the overview of the situations of flood and the impacts in different states, mostly in the North India. And I would like to introduce Vishnu to you also because he is the program coordinator of Sphere India, and mostly he is coordinating with different interagency groups and different stakeholders to get updates of impacts, loss, and damages. And we then prepare the situation reports, and if needed, we go on with the joint rapid needs assessment also in those states. So maybe Vishnu will keep bothering you for different informations on different occasions in these times of emergency. So thank you, Vishnu. And now we will move ahead with the panel discussions. For the first speaker, we have Mr. V.R. Raman, who is Executive Director at Center for Budget and Governance Accountability, CBG in New Delhi. And he has his presentations and sharing focused on the urban flooding in North India, prevention and holistic responses, and what can be the integrated planning and infrastructure, how the coordination among different government departments can be enhanced, and he'll be focusing on sector part of this urban flooding as well. So I'd like to invite Sir for taking this session, and before that, I'd like to briefly introduce to our all the participants to Mr. V.R. Raman as well. So Mr. V.R. Raman is an expert in public policy and governance with over 3 decades of experiences in health, wash, nutrition, disaster resilience, and education. He has played key roles in India's national missions and co-founded several community health initiatives in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. Mr. Raman has served as a senior policy research expert at ATRI, led policy research at WaterAid India, and mentored community health processes in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. He has worked extensively on accountability and rights-based approaches, collaborating with National Human Rights Commission as well. He holds a master's degree in public health from University of Western Cape, South Africa, and has numerous publications to his credit. So we are honored to have his presence in this important deliberations. And I would like to now invite Mr. V. Raman for taking this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Altamash, and also thanks to Dr. Mal for the very critical introductory notes that he has made. So I am in between, traveling in between one meeting to other. So there can be some disturbance, but I'll try my best to avoid that. So first thing, I will be basing this, into my experience as a government administrator and as a civil society, person, which I've been, transitioned over time. So one of the very important thing when it comes to urban flooding, although we are focusing North India, there are very, very critical lessons that we need to learn from. Something is ongoing in Chennai these days. Today itself, there is a red alert, given to Chennai. Similarly, Bangalore had, some important experiences that, came uh, some days before. Now, in Uttarakhand, we know that, during the last couple of weeks, there was a different, kind of challenges that people have faced, particularly, around Badrinath, Kedarnath, and, so on and so forth. And urban flooding, together with the flash flooding, is killing some of the urban areas of specifically the hill states. So whether it is so there are important lessons that we need to also learn from Nepal, that adjacent country for our hill states. So recently I was in Meghalaya, in one of the attending one of the workshops on water and hill lives, organized by the government of Meghalaya. And in that workshop, one of the critical issues that came in was how this, the vulnerability of the hill states can be very specifically. So, the speakers from Jammu and Kashmir, the speakers from, they are also co-organizing this event, as I understand, and speakers from Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh or, those places can actually look at some anticipated loss and damage estimation exercise can be done. The financial planning for this phenomenon is very, very important. While Almatash was opening it up and Dr. Mal was speaking, it was very clearly told that even in organizing this preparedness meeting of this multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral discussions, we are going little late. So in our setting, in our country, the disaster preparedness and also the risk reduction, as highlighted by Dr. Mal already. So the risk reduction part, uh, we need to be more careful about it. So I'll bring back to my experience of one of the uh, 3 years before there was a major urban flooding that was happening, and some of the uh, most affected areas were those where urban poor is living. So this is also something to really understand and address. So the stakeholders to really involve in these processes. When it comes to Delhi, in Delhi there is this there be the Delhi Urban Shelter Board, the DUSIB, they call it. And similarly, in various other states, we need to really take care of how the most vulnerable sections of our societies are getting affected. We need to look at the sanitation workers are the most important, actors when it comes to our response to the flood or any related disasters. But if you look at where the sanitation workers are living and the conditions and they are living, and they are coming from the worst conditions, and they are putting to the actions of relief and actions of uh, what do you call the response. So this paradox is something that we need to be ashamed as a society. So those who are expected to be on the forefront of disaster response needs to be taken care by all of us as from various kinds of whether it is civil society, whether it is government, whether it is concerned department, whether it is disaster management authority, whether it is training related organization, whether it is an interagency group, or if it is Sphere India. So one thing, while we were writing the handbook on various sectors for Sphere India sometime before, when I was part of Water Aid India, one of the key things was to understand this vulnerabilities and identify the groups that are most vulnerable, and to try to plan for their rehabilitation, or to provide them better life amenities as possible. So this is something that is very critical. And the second thing is to prepare. So the shelter and housing and related departments becomes very important in these aspects, and also the food supply, civil supplies department for provision of food and related things when things are stuck. So this kind of planning, and this kind of some kind of loss and damage estimation, which may not be accurate because you don't know when things are going to come. When it comes to flash floods, you don't know when it, but monsoon is very clear. So from monsoon, we should, at least estimate more number of such occurrences. Then only we can actually estimate finances and accountability towards ensuring the rights of those people who are in multiple kinds of challenges. The second thing is how to have the pre-monsoon. If it we are now in July, if it is possible in the early weeks of June, or end of May, how to have meetings about the monsoon and related events, or rains and related events, so to speak. Similarly, for heat strokes and related things, if we have can have some meeting in early January, then we will be I'm not talking about these kinds of meetings. I'm talking about the meetings that the Disaster Management Authority has to convene together with the IAGs, together with the civil society organization, and together with the multiple departments, like as I told, the shelter boards, the food and civil supplies, and related departments, and the health department. Those who are providing water supply and sanitation, all these departments has to come together and chalk out action plans, and the responsibilities needs to be clearly fixed about how they can attend to, and when they need to be alerted to these kinds of issues, and come on to the fore of action. The second thing is about some capacity building that is required for this new situation, because this urban flooding is a phenomenon, but many of our government officials are not able to understand this situation till the time, if you remember, the Chennai flooding some years back was the first kind of things where the government departments really understood what it makes when it comes to urban flooding, and everything stops. So, for example, in Uttarakhand, Khatima was on news, over the last week or something. Khatima is one of the towns of Udham Singh Nagar, which is in the lower part of Nainital. Earlier, it used to be part of Nainital district. So when Khatima, faced this flood situation, uh, most probably after a long time they were facing it. There was nothing that the district administration could initiate immediately. They planned and they acted very well. The municipality acted and planned very well, but as a after effect of the flood, there was no preparatory kind of initiative that was undertaken, and the preparedness was there at the district admin. This is what I'm criticizing. I'm not criticizing the action of the government. I'm criticizing the lack of preparedness of all of us as a collective, kind of society. So this was the recent case of Uttarakhand. So how we can get what are the responsibilities of each of the departments? So the handbooks prepared by Sphere India has very clear, including for resource estimation, resource mobilization, how to do that. All those things are there, but the specific stakeholders within the government departments, whether it is the District Disaster Management Authority, whether it is the specific department nodal persons, all of them jump into the fray only when the things are worst. That is where our specific problems are. So that is where the health department has to have the additional kind of supplies purchased for facing this kind of situation. Whether this is used or not, at least there should be they should have a state level reserve of medicines and supplies and those kinds of things. Than giving a call to people and by the time those calls are addressed by the people and the supplies are reaching to the problems would have been, the immediate part of the problem would have been over, and this becomes further. So unless and until we have a reserve of supplies that is available, and the food related things, we really don't know. We think that the Women and Child Development Department is having the role. That is where I'm saying the Food and Civil Supplies Department, together with those people who are providing meals in the school. So these two departments together, if they are coming, then the preparation and supply of food, or making of community kitchens and providing meals to people, those kinds of things may not be very difficult. But coming together of these departments, wherein one department ensures supply and the other department ensure preparation and cooking and actual supply to people. So this kind of coordination, how to ensure that at the health department, to have this basic supply and to have trained doctors and community level volunteers for attending these issues, together with civil society organizations volunteers. Then the health operations, particularly for the most vulnerable population, whether it is homeless, whether it is the old age people, whether it is kids, whether it is pregnant and those kinds of women, how to take care of those kinds of people on priority and then to attend all the others. This is the issue that they should look at. Water supply and sanitation, how to get potable water, to have filters for having preparing potable water when it is needed. Those kinds of supplies needs to be there with the PHED or related department, where they can immediately provide those to the group that is working on disasters. So these are something generally misses out. And water supply is getting contaminated, at times when the challenges are at the highest. So that is also something to look at, how to avoid contamination. If at all there is contamination, how to address by way of chlorination or other purification or filtration methods that we have. So these are the key things I think we need to look at. And resilience building is another very important area, wherein community level training and preparing the vulnerable communities when this kind of a thing is occurring in your place. How would you respond to it? And those kinds of and how would you build back your systems and processes? Whether it is urban flooding is the context here, but the same applies. Fires can apply during the peak summers, or heat strokes can occur, or in a context like Manipur, wherein social disasters like community clashes are happening together with natural disasters. So the overall situation is getting multiplied. The effect is multiplied for the people. So how to look at even the psychosocial related aspects when it comes to the health department, the mental health capacities of the health department to address the psychosocial issues that people are facing is very minimal. That is another area that we need to build up. So I would stop saying that all these require this. That is where I said the planning should also have some reserve money available, all the time, and the specific powers that is needed for allocating in a flexible manner. And to ensure the utilization of that. So this part of financial allocation and accountability also needs to be taken care. I would stop here. I'm sure there are many other speakers who is having deeper experiences of addressing these issues in field and facing these issues and solving these problems, and they will have most practical solutions for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for raising the important concern of the timings of having such kind of consultations as well as at state level by the disaster management authorities, how before each of the hazards or each of the season, they can have a state level preparedness meeting with different line departments, sectors, different stakeholders, whether it is COs, CSOs or the agencies that are functioning in their state. And it's important also, and you also taken us through the Sphere India handbooks that you were also part of that. I'd like to actually highlight about Sphere India handbooks that we had made in 2022, and several revisions were there. It is basically a six sectors handbook focusing on the multi-stakeholders preparedness, multi-sector preparedness for health, education, wash, protection, education. So it's a very comprehensive set of guidelines that is there in this handbooks. And as a follow-up action to this meeting, I will share that handbook with all of the esteemed speakers as well and to the participants as well. Maybe you can find time out to go through them, and I guess that will be quite helpful in your uh, plannings, in your executions, especially in the context of emergencies, disasters, humanitarian aid. So thank you so much, Mr. V.R. Raman, for taking us through this important topic of urban flooding in India, especially in North India. Now I would like to move forward with our second panelist of today's consultation, who is Mr. Dr. Piyush Rotela. He is former executive director with Uttarakhand State Disaster Management Authority, Government of Uttarakhand, and he'll be talking on the challenges and successes in disaster risk management from his Uttarakhand experience when he was the executive director, and some of the innovative approaches to disaster preparedness and responses, lessons from Uttarakhand, how basically emphasizing the disaster risk reduction strategies and best practices during his tenure and during his entire career. So I'd like to hand over the floor to Dr. Piyush, sir.
Thank you, Altamash. Whenever we start this kind of a intellectual discourse on DRR, hope I'm audible.
Yes, of course, sir.
Yeah, whenever we start this kind of an intellectual discourse, we often try to emphasize that people are ignorant of vulnerabilities, people are ignorant of the risks around us, ignorant of hazards. As has been said, nobody really wants to stay in a vulnerable place or say expose himself or his family to any kind of risk. And moreover, be it you, me, or anyone else, we have basic instincts of all of us are all the same. We think and react almost in a similar manner, particularly when we are cornered or when our existence is threatened. Survival is our instinct. And as also procreation, social interaction, social adaptation, and believe me, we are, say, we have been programmed by evolution to sense danger. It could be through our instincts or through accumulated or traditional knowledge. And we are also infused with a lot of positivity, what we call positivity syndrome or whatever you want to say. So positivity bias suggests that we are not going to be harmed. Whatever is being, we are aware of the hazards, but we are convinced by positivity bias that we are not going to be harmed. So there exists a dilemma where we can sense danger, but positivity bias makes us convince us that we are not going to be harmed by all this. And at the same time, we all tend to forget. Particularly, we tend to forget the bad memories, traumatic events. So we don't, we as a society don't have a, say, remembrance or memories of traumatic events, previous events. We don't have that kind of a thing. And we are at the same time, so we start to consider our place as being safe. It is not going to be affected because we don't have memories of the previous events. At the same time, we don't have a very good record keeping tradition. If we have been, say, being affected by earthquakes, say Himalayan states. If you go back, we in Uttarakhand have the last earthquake, say, most old earthquake that we remember, 1803 Garhwal earthquake. Before that, we have no written record of any of the things there. So we were poor record keeping tradition. We don't have history of hazards documented, which results in, say, there are two kind of things. Our hazard maps are often not very accurate because we don't have a long history of hazards. And often after a major disaster, say after 2000, say 2001 Bhuj earthquake, our hazard map, seismic duration map was revised. Earlier we had 5 zones, now we have 4 zones. So we are unaware of our previous hazards in our region. We don't have risk communication tradition. Even the governments, which are, say, which have conducted very robust hazard risk vulnerability assessment, they are not taking this results to people. They are not making people aware that their region is. So at the same time, the people has to be, there has to be very strong kind of a awareness drive, which makes people aware of hazards around them, of the vulnerabilities they have, so that they are voluntarily, say, there is a voluntary, say, drive. It's not that the people are being compelled to do certain things. They have to be, say, motivated so that there is a voluntary compliance of whatever the safety is there. So for that, we have to take our hazard maps, risk maps to the people in a very simple way, simple manner, and tell them the ways of risk reduction. In Uttarakhand, we have done, say, saying IEC material and other kind of things. We have done popular films, even the censor board certified films on disaster awareness. We have produced large number of, say, IEC material, particularly in Hindi and our vernacular languages, both Garhwali and Kumaoni. We are the only state running a earthquake early warning system. We had very robust community-based systems, community-based disaster awareness and training program of 10 days duration, which we are running from 2010 till 2019. And we had trained almost more than 16,000 volunteers through this. So these were the positive points. Challenges are numerous. Say, you can say reaching out to the people, even if IMD issues a warning, say, firstly, these warnings are not exactly location based. IMD is giving warnings on a district level kind of thing. So reacting on the basis of that, on the basis of those warnings, you cannot evacuate people. These warnings are not like we get for cyclone. Only this landfall will be exactly at this place. This will be the track. Those kind of warnings are not available yet. And there are constraints on the part of IMD also, though it's improving. So taking the warnings forward, motivating people to act according to them, to add to it, as has been said by previous speakers, that Uttarakhand previously we had a major landslide around Joshimath in which large number of people were struck due to the landslide. So that's a major challenge because a number of most of the yatras and this kind of pilgrimage, it is almost unrestricted. Say we are not restricting people, we are not restricting So on a political front, politicians are projecting numbers as their success stories. Say this year, already previous year's records are being broken. So large number of people are coming, and most of the habitations in the hilly regions, they are in the proximity of old landslides. That's a reality for all the, because landslide is a material, old landslide material. It provides, say, soil formation activities. It provides soil for agriculture, and also it provides good aquifers for water. So we have water and agricultural lands in the proximity of landslides. But previously, people did not habitate on the old landslides. They habitated at a higher place and walked on a routine basis for collecting water and doing agriculture pursuit. But lately, because of various other compulsions, people have started to settle down on the old landslide debris. And that has emerged as a major problem. Joshimath is an example, and many other, say, cities and habitations in this region are facing the similar kind of thing, because we don't have a rainwater disposal or the wastewater disposal system is not there. And whenever water is percolating through this old landslide material, it is leaching the finer grains, and whatever we say in geology, it's washing away of fines or leaching out of fines. So there is vertical subsidence is there. That's a major issue, major challenge being faced by hill city. So that's what is my experience. I said, as a DRR practitioner, we should emphasize, put our focus on awareness rather than just planning and other kind of things. If people are aware, they will on their own take adequate measures, because we cannot do policing kind of a thing cannot be done for compliance of disaster risk reduction measures. So that's my kind of thing. I will stop here, and if anyone has any question, I'm happy to. Thank you. Thank you, Altamash. Thank you, Spare India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for highlighting all your experiences during your tenure as the AD at Uttarakhand State SDMA. You rightly talked about some of the emphasis that should be on awareness for the community people, and how Uttarakhand SDMA worked on awareness part, especially creating films in vernacular languages, IC materials, and a massive training of volunteers as well. So definitely that is one of the lessons for that can be maybe followed in other states as well. And you talked about the challenges or constraint of IMD, that their warnings are limited to district level. So for that, I would like to, because we have the next speaker, Mr. CN Prabhu, who is the director of Bihar Mosam Seva Kendra, that is recently being established in Bihar under the Planning and Development Department. So the constraints of IMD, I think in that state in Bihar has now been fulfilled, or it's quite, they have been successful in removing those kind of constraints, because Bihar Mosam Seva Kendra, I would like to inform you that they have set up automatic rain gauges and automatic weather stations at every panchayat level, every blocks. So now they have the data for the warnings from entire panchayats and district level, from the block levels of Bihar. So I think Mr. CN Prabhu would be the right person to take us through this setup, how it is functioning, and what are the good outcomes of setting up this Bihar Mosam Seva Kendra in Bihar. So with this, I would like to move to the next panel, and I would like to invite our esteemed speaker. He's Mr. CN Prabhu. He's Director, Bihar Mosam Seva Kendra Patna, which is functioning under the Planning and Development Department of Government of Bihar. And also this Bihar Mosam Seva Kendra is bringing a kind of convergence between different authorities in Bihar, whether it is SDMA, Bihar SDMA, Disaster Management Department, or IMD, or other line departments. So I think we have a very important panelist we have with us right now, who will be taking us more in detail about all these things. And I would like to briefly introduce about him as well. He has a master's in applied science and PhD in climatology and oceanography. He's having 25 years of meteorological disaster monitoring and mitigations at different research organizations. Currently, he's working as the director in Bihar Mausam Seva Kendra, and he's also the member of the expert committee for the establishment of weather data infrastructure in India. He's also the member secretary of technical committee of revising Bihar State Action Plan on Climate Change, and a member of the Integrated Disaster Risk Management Society and Geological Society of India. So, and I would like to say that he was also the senior scientific officer previously at Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Center, and then he has been invited to Bihar by the government of Bihar to lead this Bihar Mausam Seva Kendra. So over to you, sir. Please take forward.
Thank you, Altamash. I just thank you, Spear India, for inviting me to speak in this forum. Are my slides visible?
Yes, sir.
I heard the previous speakers. I think my presentation will be more towards monitoring and providing early warning of about different hazards in Bihar. It will be a little bit of science and technology, how we are using in Bihar. That's what I will be showing it to you. So if you have any things to discuss, we can do it subsequently. So as you know, of course, entire country is vulnerable to various hazards, so as Bihar. But Bihar is vulnerable to many hazards. You name any hazard, natural hazard, it is there. And intensity is also very quite, it's much more than many of the southern states, I would say. So in that context, Bihar government has set up this institutional mechanism, Bihar Mausam Seva Kendra, to provide actionable weather services to the government departments and the public. So we do provide services to all the departments, whoever it is, the government agencies, university, and also general public sector specific activities. In that process, we have set up a network of sensors in the field. We do collect near real-time data, developed a database of weather data from up to panchayat. Then we do develop weather forecast up to panchayat level. And as and when necessary, we do provide, generate and disseminate early warning. And we have taken information dissemination very serious. So these are the specific activities what BMSK has been doing. We are an infant in this part of the country because it's 3 years we are in the game, and this is what the network what we have built. The left panel shows you a weather station at every block level. There are about 534 blocks. We have 534 weather stations. And every panchayat, the right panel shows every panchayat is an automatic rain gauge. And these are the parameters we measure at block level. And at panchayat level, the left panel shows you the rain gauge, how it looks like in the field. And the right panel, the weather station, which is at block level. We measure temperature, rainfall, humidity, wind, pressure, so radiation, and at some places soil moisture on this. These data coming to us round the clock at 15 minutes interval gives us enables us to monitor very closely, identify the places which is in some place hazard would be like coming up and identify, map them, alert the local administration or the state level administration where we communicate at real time. That data, when it comes to us, we process them, analyze them at real time, prepare charts, maps, reports, and if necessary, early warning, and disseminate it through various means. So using that data, I'll show you some examples how we are monitoring different hazards. This is this year heat wave, how we monitored. You can see every panel is depicting the temperature, the maximum temperature recorded at every block, every district, and every zone of the state. Like the entire Bihar is divided into 6 different zones. Accordingly, we monitor every zone, every district, every block, what is the maximum temperature going and how long it is going to be there, and at present, how many days it is there. Because if the temperature is more than 40 for a day or two, it may not cause such a problem. But if it is there for successive days, then the problem starts. That is the hazardous condition. And this year you can see the marked areas. You can see successively for many days, most of the districts were above 40 degrees. And many places in June, it was more than 45 for successive days. That is when we, recorded a lot of hazardous condition and impact on the local population. And there were some casualties reported, and some of them were poll parties because the polling booth, they were on duty for the election, and so they become the victim. So this is one example of that. And we also monitor the hailstorm, which is a phenomenon during the pre-monsoon season. In this case, what we do is we use a combination of remote sensing data. That means the satellite data as well as the ground-based observation. We combine together, we monitor the hailstorm event. Right now, we don't have the mechanism to forecast it yet. We are working on that. But at present, where it has happened, what was the intensity, the spread of the hailstorm event is helping to claim the damages, especially for the insurance purpose. It is helping. So coming to the monsoon season, we monitor the rainfall activity, as I said, up to panchayat level. You can see the map is showing district level distribution, but we can downscale it up to panchayat level. There's the June rainfall departure distribution, the July rainfall so far. And then we compare it with the normal and the previous year so that we can know where we stand in this season and this date. And then we apply that data to monitor the drought condition. As you know, the northern part of Bihar is more vulnerable to flood and the southern part is vulnerable to drought because southern part is more rainfall dependent. So we strictly follow the Government of India norms set by the Ministry of Agriculture, the rainfall deficiency, dry spell, and those are the mandatory indicators, and impact indicators also in monitor. So based on that, we keep on, on day-to-day basis, we see with how many blocks under which category of rainfall deficiency, whether it is large deficiency or deficient, this we strictly monitor. And as the season progresses, we will be observing how it is shifting from one category to the other. At a time, any given time, we can say this is the status as on date. This is as on date 15th July. This is the status of Bihar. Every block is categorized under different category of rainfall departure. So the red color ones, they are under deficit category, and the yellow ones are under large deficit. So far, the rainfall distribution is good for the agriculture. So this we keep on updating every day based on our data coming from the network, and we communicate that to the administrators so that they take action. Previous 2 years, you can see how at the end of the season, when we assessed, this was the situation in 22 and 23. This was very helpful for the, both policy makers and the local administrators to take action. This is very important for you to note, like the rainfall distribution is very, I would not say erratic, it's very variable. You can, if you see one district as a whole, as sir was just talking, if you take a district as a whole, then it may not be, appropriate for the management purpose, because district level data would show everything is normal, but when we downscale it to block level, you can see there are different blocks with deficit rainfall. And if you take it to the panchayat level and see, there are blocks which are even having deficit or even scanty rainfall. So that kind of insight into the rainfall distribution helps the administrators, and we are providing that service hand holding. Similarly, as the season progresses, we monitor the cold wave. During the heat wave condition, we will be monitoring the maximum temperature. When it comes to the minimum, winter, we will be monitoring the reverse minimum temperature, and we see how which district or which block is under cold wave condition. There is one more very important parameter we monitor, that is the diurnal temperature, the difference between the maximum and minimum temperature within a day. This is a very important parameter for the health sector. It can trigger health hazard if it is too narrow or too large. So this we will be monitoring and providing, and we can provide this, the forecast as well, and that is helpful for the health sector. Cold wave, these kind of things. Another hazard for the northern India, which is very important, is the fog. During the winter, about 20-25 days, northern India, especially Indo-Gangetic Plain, suffers because of the dense fog. The transportation, all forms of transportation, livelihood get affected because of this. BMSK has developed a model, this first of its kind in the country, to forecast fog in next 5 days. So you can see the left panel showing it's based on the forecast, and the right panel is showing based on the remote sensing. So we are able to capture this season, the coming season, we will be operationalizing this, and once it's done, this will the model can be extended to other states, like neighboring states like Uttar Pradesh and beyond, so that they can also get benefit. We have developed in-house capability for developing the weather forecast, various parameters, not only rainfall, temperature, the wind, the humidity, cloudiness, all that. We are associated with ISRO centers. We are in touch with, we are data sharing and knowledge sharing basis. We are developing this is the next 10 days rainfall forecast. This as on date is updated forecast. You can see Bihar is will be having little rainfall, less rainfall in the coming week, this week. So all this data we collect into our database, we churn it real time. As I said, we generate reports, early warning, and so on. So you can see the difference what sir was talking. I just want to buttress on that. The left first panel, what you can see here is we issue this forecast at least 18 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance. For the same districts, you can see 3 days in advance through Nowcast IMD issues warning. That means we already giving a lot of lead time to the administrators, to the public in Bihar, so that they take necessary action. We continuously keep monitoring as the event approaches, we will be updating and providing the updated information. And we have different mechanism to take the information to the end users. We have a help desk, we have a weather dashboard, real-time dashboard. We have developed a mobile app, Mausam Bihar. We are there on social media platforms. We do conduct awareness programs. SMS, we are not using much. We are not depending much on it because that technology is already almost obsolete. Nobody, bothers to open SMS anymore. Most of the people are dependent on the smartphone. So either most of the social media platforms, they are active. SMS, you will open only for the OTP. And that's what I have been observing. So we do disseminate information through various means, through bulletins, through social media platforms, through real-time, interactive help desk. You can talk to us and get the information round the clock. Anybody from anywhere, from any panchayat, they can call, get their the information relevant to their place of interest. The dashboard, it is a real-time dashboard, interactive one. You can visualize not only the entire the state, any specific district or a river basin or a zone. That way you can visualize and you can get the information through the dashboard. We are now developing a help desk application with sector-specific advisories, like whether it is for the health, tourism, transport. So when a caller approaches the help desk, depending on his need and activity, we will be providing the advisories in the coming season. This is being under development. We will be doing it soon. This is the mobile app, what we have developed. It's a bilingual mobile app. It's for you need not type anything. They're all drop down. You just can choose the panchayat of your interest. You can get the information with respect to the current weather as well as the weather forecast for the next 5 days. Now we are working on, as many people are demanding, to provide weather forecast for the next 10 days or 15 days. We are working on that. We will be implementing that soon. Coming to the flood, which is a very big hazard in Bihar. Now we are developing a flood forecast model for the Kosi River Basin, which is already there, which is being operated by the FMISC, one of the centers by the government of Bihar, Water Resources Department. But we are using a latest technology. It's a data intense technique what we are using in this model. So we will be able to provide much more location specific, time specific flood forecast. In Bihar, as you know, most of this flood is because of the water coming from Nepal. So we have developed a special weather forecast model covering some part of the neighboring areas as well, so that we know what is happening in the neighboring area and what would be its impact on Bihar. Similarly, we are developing digital twin for the major cities. 5 cities we have chosen for forecasting urban flood. We will be, by next season, this would also be operational. That's in Patna, Chhapra, Muzaffarpur, Darbhanga, and Bhagalpur, which are quite frequently they get affected because of the flood, either through the rivers or streams, and additionally with the overhead rainfall. And we will be providing the forecast for that as well. And this is how we have the sensor network, but we are working on. Apart from hydrometeorological hazard, we are developing a seismic hazard monitoring station network as well, that is earthquake monitoring stations network. At 10 places, we are going to, the buildings are constructed. Now we are going to install the sensors. So we will be monitoring the earthquake anywhere, whether local, regional, or even teleseismic earthquake. We will be able to capture the data, provide information to the concerned authorities and the public. And now with all this information and data and so on, we are developing a mechanism, multi-hazard early warning system, where it's a unified system. All the data comes to it, and depending on the area and time and event, we will be providing the early warning to sectors and the vulnerable area specific. So this is we are building, and it will be very soon operational. So Bihar has taken a big leap in that terms, and we are providing the service. Once this multi-hazard early warning system is in place completely with last mile connectivity, I think that can serve as our vision is we can serve as a lighthouse partner to the neighboring states so that they can also get benefit from it. Thank you very much. I stop with this. Sorry, I think, extra time more than allotted. If you have any queries, I would be happy to discuss. Thank you very much. Altemis, it's over to you. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
introducing in very detail.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello. Am I audible, Vishnu? Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
sir.
you are audible.
Okay, all right. So actually, I'm really grateful that you took in detail benefiting at the Gram Panchayat level from the district to block to stay Gram Panchayat. So that was one of the, I think, major highlight of this BMSK functioning, because IMD, as Mr. Taylor also mentioned, that it is there at the district level, but usually we don't get the right point of observation from the district level, and usually, as you mentioned, that it's varying from the up to the panchayat level. So, since, sir, you have informed me earlier that you have to leave for some meeting at the disaster management department.
Yeah.
So I would like to request our participants or other colleagues, if they have some queries, they can feel free to ask him, and maybe if some kind of collaboration can be forged during this meeting only with the neighboring states, because we have a presence from Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and other states of North India. So I think that can be one of the important outcome of this consultation. So I'd request participants to feel free to ask any queries to Dr. Prabhu. You can feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Dr. Bhanu, if you're there, since you're also the member advisor of State Disaster Management Authority, Uttar Pradesh. So if for some of the neighboring districts of Bihar and UP, if there can be any possibilities that maybe as a next step, we can develop a kind of MOU also, or after this meeting, and we can discuss in more detail. But for during this, if you can see any possibility of that.
Thank you, Altabas. I think he, Dr. Prabhu, has elaborated in a very detailed way, and it was really very nice of him that all parts were discussed. In UP, I think our vice chairperson and relief commissioner, they are already in touch with the Bihar BSDMA, and definitely we feel. I mean, most of it is going to be very helpful for UP also. So let's see how a collaboration as well as support may be developed. I'm sure. I mean, very recently I have been discussing with General Demri, and he was of the opinion that our neighbor is doing so good, and many people have already visited Bihar in last few years to know how to do and what to do, because if there is some change in the hierarchy, the process has been slowed down. But I think in near future we will definitely have more and more support.
Sure, sir. As and when you can feel free to call me. We will be very happy to so that you can save time, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. With our learning, with our experience, we can customize it and use it. We will be able to
Sure. I
offer
think
to help that. I'm aware that UP government is in preparing to install the network, but just putting the sensors may not be sufficient. But collecting the data and turning it, you need to have a system in place. I'm not sure of how that is planned. If needed, we can provide the handholding.
yeah. Hand holding is more important than putting the system, because that works. That works.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Thank you.
Sure, sir. We will do that. We will do that.
May I, sir, there is a permission of moderator and the chairman, a connected issue when we're talking about the UP. It's a very peculiar situation. It's not exactly what I'm going to talk about, placing the sensors. What I'm talking, UP gets affected, and so is Bihar. We get affected from rainfall in Nepal, then Uttarakhand, then you come to the MP. You release the water in Kota barrage, you get affected in Balia and Ghazipur. So there is definitely a need to take all these states together in collaboration, kind of a MOU or whatever is feasible in the given circumstances, and take it further, because I see that even if there's no rains in the UP, you get flooded. Very peculiar thing happened last year and last year. The districts under the drought situation, supposed to be, suddenly they get flooded because the water was released from south. Your Betwa, Tons, and Son River, then your Kota barrage I talked about. And even today, what is happening, Gandak barrage, that Valmiki barrage releasing water, your Kushinagar, and then going into the Kosi to the east to Bihar.
Yes, sir.
So it's not only UP and Bihar. I would say the UP, Bihar, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, even Rajasthan for that matter, and also Nepal.
Yeah.
Take everything on board and kind of a regional collaboration, which will, in days to come or years to come, would be in better position to address the issue of flood. Sorry, I was the next speaker, but I thought I'd take on this issue. Since Prabhuji is still there, I would raise another issue, sir, with your permission.
Please.
I saw your the last slide. It's a very lucid presentation. You actually educated all of us. Lightning. You know, the lightning is definitely an area when you're working on it. My recommendation or my experience, having worked in the UP state for 4-5 years, the problem today, challenge today is whatever existing apps or the things which are existing. It's not very people friendly, if I may put across. You give a warning in the radius of 20 kilometers that lightning is going to happen, it doesn't work. You cannot put everything stand still in the area of 20 kilometers radius. So, sir, since you are working on it, my request is if you can bring down that, you keep telling Bhedia doesn't come. Or it comes somewhere in a remote corner of a radius of 20 kilometers. It doesn't work. And people lose credibility in the system. And that's what is happening. No one wants to look at it because say कि कभी आता ही नहीं है, lightning होता नहीं है, आप हमको हमेशा warning दे देते हैं 20 किलोमीटर के radius में. So if we can narrow down on that issue, because that's causing a lot of casualties. So these two issues are connected with your presentation. So I thought I will just bring out, with the permission of Chair and Prabhuji and of course Altamash.
Thank you, Brigadier PK Singh. Thank you. I think it's very pertinent.
Thank you. I just quickly respond to Brigadier sir. With respect to lightning, yes, you're right. Giving alert or early warning with a 20-kilometer radius is not going to work. That is one part. Second part, it is not going to work in another way, because you are sending an SMS or through an app. It is not going to help in any way, because most of these victims are working in the field, agriculture field. Most of them are the farmers who are working in the field. They would not be carrying their phone when they are in the field. They would be keeping on the bund or at home. So even if you are sending the alert, it's not reaching them. To bridge that, what we have done is, in collaboration with BSDMA and IIT partner, we have developed a capsule. It's a pendant which they can wear on their body. So it directly communicates wherever they are. Even if they are in the water, it can communicate to them. That's not an issue. So it vibrates, it changes its color with vulnerability, and it also there is a voice message. It reaches them. So wherever they are, whether inside a building or outside a building, they get the message. And with a lead time of 15 to 20 minutes, we are working on zeroing it to about 2 to 3 kilometer radius. The polygon we are trying to create for the 3 kilometer. That means it's an area of a panchayat or less than that. So maybe a few villages can be alerted at a time through this pendant. That even if they are working in the field, we used hooter, which was not effective. We used SMS, which was not. We did through app, it was not. So now this is, I think we can directly talk to an individual wherever he is. That is the solution we are implementing. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Actually, UP SDMA and the UP government has taken initiative just 2 years back. There's a very vulnerable, the block, Duti in Sonbhadra district. Lightning rampant there, casualties much more than any block in the state. So UP government and the UP SDMA took up the initiative, and they have gone about placing sensors. They've gone about, the miking system, the loudspeakers and all, which has a range of 2 to 3 kilometers, and that has worked well in Dudhi. Sphere India, and with the help of Prabhuji, if that can be taken as a kind of a study and taken forward to other blocks, because that, my understanding, my wisdom, I think that's some sort of a success story in the UP, which can be replicated in other places and all, and that should no casualties happening in Dudhi, where used to happen casualties earlier.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, if I have the details of that with me. We can share that, and we can take it forward to other areas, promulgate that further if it works well.
Sure. We shall
Leader
work
PK Singh will definitely take it at sphere level. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I think it's wonderful. I can consider that this can be one of the important key takeaways from this consultation. And initially, when we were planning this consultation, without what can be the outcome, and maybe if we can build on some kind of strategies, collaboration, that will be really helpful. And I understand that maybe this can be one of the important takeaways. Thank you so much, Dr. Prabhu and PK sir, for raising your important queries also. And Mr. Prabhu, I'm really grateful that you took time out for this important session. And maybe as Sphere India, maybe in future we can be able to build a kind of a platform where all these collaborations and studies can be taken forward, and we can definitely meet together to discuss in detail separately what we can explore such kind of opportunities.
Most
Thank you
welcome,
again for
and
your time.
thank you very much.
We'll move forward with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
sir.
very much, Altamash. All the best.
Thank
Thank
you
you all.
so much. So we will move forward with our next esteemed panelist, Mr. PK Singh sir, who is a VSM and former senior consultant with the UP SDMA.
Shall I start? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Altamash, I think there is some
Definitely
problem.
like to introduce more in detail with about our team in detail. Sir, okay, all right.
Thank you very much. I think I'll go back in time just about. And firstly, I thank the Sphere India, thank the moderator, thank the chairman, Bhanuji, for organizing this multi-stakeholder consultation meeting on a very, very vibrant and contemporary subject of emergency management of emergencies. I'm sure when we are looking at the emergencies, we are not only looking at the immediate response to a situation. Even the global warming is an emergency today. So we are addressing holistically the entire the gambit of disaster risk reduction. And also thank the organizers for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts on a subject which is very, very relevant, as I said earlier. It is a vast canvas, in fact, to be filled in a short span of time. However, the sub-thematic areas which have been given to me to speak about, there is a considerable amount of overlap. If you look at it, the community engagement and empowerment, this eventually going to build the resilience. You talk about the training and the skill building of the communities. What is eventually happening is going to address the DRR, is going to address the resilience, is going to address the adaptation, it is going to address the mitigation, and so on and so forth. So what I will do is in a length and breadth, I shall try and cover everything because there is a very fine defining line between the sub-thematic areas what has been given. Similarly, if we talk about the engagement of communities in collaboration, what we can collaborate with the government, these are exactly the same areas. What I shall focus is what are the cardinal principles when we talk about the uh, government and non-government organizations collaboration when we talk. What about what are the fundamentals which should focus on that? Rather than going into the specific areas, they are as it is get covered as I go ahead. Now, first is this community responsibility or community engagement and empowerment when we talk about it. I think DRR or disaster management in the country has come of age since the promulgation of Act in year 2005. And one thing which has stood very loud and clear and which has stood the test of the time is the participation of communities. They have been well established, the first responders. I am a very hardcore Fauji, and I would have no hesitation, or rather, I would have pride in saying that it is not the people in uniform, whether it's uh, uh, paramilitary forces or the armed forces who are the first responders. It's the community which is the first responder. And I'm saying with my personal experience, I know people in the panel are from the J&K also. 2005, the snow tsunami. It was termed snow tsunami. I was surprised because I looked at the Oxford Dictionary. I found there's no word called snow tsunami. It was the tsunami of 2004, which has given a name to that, the ocean of snow which fell in the South Kashmir, the little north of the Pir Panjal ranges, the Kulgam district and the Shupia and the east of, Anantnag and all those areas. Nobody, and I'm making no exception, nobody could reach the spot for 48 hours. Because of the inclement weather, no helicopter could fly in and reach the spot. It was only the communities which could, the survivors who could help each other. And that's the time when we talk about, empowerment of these people because they being the first responders. I take another example. Whenever I talk on the subject, I always give an example of, the Caribbean, small little islands which are there. A Caribbean committee was formed in 2001 because those islands has got no redundancy in the system. There is no alternate systems. You have one airfield, you have got one port, one, power station, and so on and so forth. If that is gone, that is gone. So they realized that it is the community which could do anything and everything for that matter, for at least the 72 hours or 4 days or 5 days initially, because nothing will move it. And the example we had our T20 World Cup winners got stuck in Barbados for 72 hours. They could not fly out of Barbados. So that is one. And when we talk about, responsibilities of NGOs for DRR and community resilience, I think one thing Sri Rautela ji also spoke. He talked about the motivation of people. I think the pride and motivation, as an NGO, I need to identify what are the things which is going to motivate the people today. If there's no motivation, there would be no engagement and there would be no empowerment. Let's be very clear of it. And that is more relevant today because of talking about the disaster risk reduction and the climate change, where the dividends are, the gestation period is too long, maybe a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. So how do we motivate today? And everything doesn't motivate people at the community level. I have laid my hands on few of the studies, and I found every geographical area, every country has got a different dimension to the motivation to the people. Like if I take the example of United States, what motivates people if your climate action or anything which is addressing the climate change or the adversities of the climate change, does it have an impact on the economy of the region or the state or the country? I think that's there. That study brings it very clear that it is that which is going to motivate the people. If we go to the Scandinavian countries, the Norway, you go to the Denmark, you find the environmental concerns motivate most to the people. I have not found any study in the Indian context. However, my personal experience would suggest that it is the safety and security of the people. If somehow we can bring it that into our actions for DRR of the climate change or the climate action, I think that's the one thing which is going to motivate most. So when we talk about the our engagement with the people, grassroots level, I think we should focus on the areas which are going to motivate them. People today do not get motivated so quickly. We need to address that issue. When we talk about the training and skill building, I think civil societies can do good if they can the change is taking place. Actually, they can little go away from the conventional scope of training, what we used to train, the search and rescue operation, the first aid, the relief camp operation, food distribution, rehabilitation, and reconstruction and those issues. I think the time has come when we should focus more on the issues which are combination of adaptation and mitigation both. This is also mentioned in the IPCC report because no amount of adaptation will actually see you through because you have a limit of adaptation, whether it's human beings or it's infrastructure or whatever you may say. And if you solely address the issue of mitigation, I think your survival today becomes difficult. So it has to be combination of both. Now I'll take few issues which can be focused on in our approach towards the this aspect of responsibility or the collaboration also with the government or other stakeholders. One is the we're talking about the flood. When we talk about the DRR and the issues which are going to affect in a long term, water bodies, the wetlands, the rejuvenation and the creation is the area where we can actually give a little more focus because we should not look in isolation at the wetland. Wetland, we should look at the entire ecosystem. Wetland as a something which is going to impact the economy of the area, which is going to impact the the livelihood of the area. You can have the percolation ponds, the development of fisheries, because it has a multi-sectoral or multi approach, the multiple approach to address the issue in DRR and the risk reduction. We can have the green cover, the renewable energy. We can talk about the ethanol production today because I read some time back, one of the news articles said the government could meet the the sugarcane farmers the bill they could pay last year or even this year for that matter because the ethanol production is on the rise. So we can look at those issues. We can look at the agroforestry today in a larger way than what has been done before, because that is the area which is going to give not only address the improve the environment, it can improve the ecosystem of the area, but it's also going to be the benefit to the farmers, benefit to the people who are growing different kind of crops. There's something called the hedging forestry along the bunds of their farms and all, and there are a lot of areas. We can look at the area of carbon credit today. UP government incidentally had a MOU with Terry, wherein I think it is progressing fine as far as whatever my information suggests to me. We need to look at more, involved in the matter of carbon credit. climate resilient infrastructure and climate the housing, if we are talking about how to create, because we have seen number of pictures, the temperature soaring so high that your roads are, when the vehicles move on the roads, they leave a furrow behind of the wheels. The roads are melting. You need to be have some kind of a housing insulation which is protecting you from the outside temperature. You can have the green walls. You can have the heat reflecting tiles on the top of your roofs. You can have multiple things, the water circulation system in the housing. So there are so many things which could be a little divergent from the conventional training and the skill development of the communities, where we could focus, since the subject is more on the DRR and the issues of the climate change. I think we can focus on those issues too. Now, quickly I'll go over as I said, a big canvas in a short span of time about the collaboration with NGOs, with the government, or other stakeholders. Now, I call it GO-NGO, life and life. In Hindi, GO-NGO is a life and life. And there's no denying the fact that the NGOs have played a very significant role in the many disasters the country faced since 80s and 90s, be it the Latur earthquake, 93 Odisha super cyclone, 99 Bhuj earthquake, 2001, 2004 tsunami. And we have done a phenomenal work in that. One thing when we talk about the collaboration is, I think we need to do the SWOT analysis of the civil societies first. When we do the SWOT analysis, I think we would be very clear about the strengths and weaknesses. And one strength which at the surface of it comes out very loud and clear is that the civil societies have a distinct advantage today of, kind of rapport with the communities, their connect with the communities today, which the government doesn't have. You have the experts. We have the variety of experts, myriad of experts which are existing, which the government doesn't have. At the same time, government has many advantages in terms of, the laying the policies, then the plans, then the legislations, the finances, and everything connected with that. Now, few more bottlenecks. One, what kind of a conducive atmosphere which is existing, or non-conducive atmosphere for that matter, which is existing. I will not use the word of, trust deficit, but I think we need to build more trust. Today, a government is seen as an agency which considers itself as a sole representative of the people of the country, or sole representative of the community. We need to, address that issue. We are looking the government to recognize the expertise of the civil societies. We are looking at the government to give greater freedom of action to the civil societies. At the same time, the government is also looking at the civil societies, that not be too critical of their policies, their, legislations, and not that anything and everything can only be done by the civil society. So there is a scope to build a kind of a mutual trust. I'm not saying it is not there, but I think we need to work more on that. Another issue is, it's a personality oriented in the government in a way that many government agencies or the officials, they are interested. They know the things, they understand, they're aware of the strengths of the civil societies, but many are not. Many are not. Now we will have to decide ourselves who onus lies where, who's going to go and acquaint this government agencies with my capabilities. We need to focus on those issues, and I think build up on that, and will do many goods. Another issue which I will just quickly go over it, when we talked about the some kind of a case studies and the good practices. I just talked about the lightning. I just before the Prabhuji spoke after I started off. That is one area where we can go. One of the biggest case studies as far as the GO-NGO collaboration is concerned is the Odisha cyclone, the super cyclone of
Excuse me, sir, sorry to
1999.
interrupt. Actually, we are
Yeah, anything? Yeah, anything? Altmesh, anything?
It's okay, sir. It's okay. Please go ahead.
Okay. So what I was saying is that that was the first experience of the government wherein they were exposed to, work in a collaboration with so many NGOs, both national and the international NGOs. And the best part was that they defined their, scope of work into three different and very, very different segments. One was the immediate response. Then they worked on the short-term, work which could be done, and thereafter in the long term. The many NGOs who came and then initial, what is that, food distribution, shelter, kind of reconstruction of activities, water, schools, disposals of dead bodies, and kind of a counseling for depression and trauma, all these things done. Then there was a many left, and then many stayed on. Many stayed on with the short-term objectives, building the schools, building of infrastructure, and everything for the. And they also left, and the many stayed on for the long-term perspective. I think that's the one lesson we should involve ourselves in a long-term, process of disaster risk reduction, specifically in collaboration with the government. And that's irrigation facilities and many other things. So that is all collaboration. We can talk on that, in fact, at length about this could be a very good case study, the Odisha cyclone, NGO and the government collaboration perspective. That's where I stop now. I think I have also overshot a little. Uh, so try to cover what the sub-thematic areas given to me. I would request to realign. They already realigned, but I think focus on to the away from the conventional part of training when we are talking about the DR. Response is very important. I'm by no means trying to suggest that these areas can be overlooked. They cannot be overlooked. But at the same time, we have got to look at the longer perspective of, risk reduction, addressing the issues of the climate change. I gave certain examples, which are the newer areas of cooperation where the civil societies and more specifically Sphere India can look into that. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I thought I made some sense. That's all. Thank you.
of course, of course. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Vishnu, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for taking us through this very important topic on collaboration and community engagement and empowerment for this disaster risk reduction, community resilience, and climate adaptation. Now moving forward with our next speaker, we have Mr. Mehran Khan, who is the founder and CEO of Alpha International Jammu and Kashmir. He also happens to be the active member and leading the IEG in Jammu and Kashmir. He'll be speaking on community-based disaster management lessons from J&K. And since we have a very limited time now, so I'd request Mr. Mehran to kindly shorten his sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Altamash. At the outset, on behalf of Interagency Group of Jammu and Kashmir, I'd like to put forward my sincere gratitude to Sphere India for organizing this wonderful multi-stakeholder consultation. Already so much learning. I was a wonderful treat to listen to fellow speakers. I know we are running out of time. I'll be very brief. I'll just focus on my topic, which is managing complex emergencies in the conflict zone and insights from Jammu and Kashmir. So the fellow speakers, they actually talked about all these things. It's always difficult to talk towards the end, but yeah, sharing our experience from Jammu and Kashmir. As one of the speakers, he talked about the situation we had in South Kashmir, where tsunami, and then we had several other situations in the past. I remember my experience from 2005 earthquake, 2014 floods, and then we recently had the COVID-19 emergency. So our experience is, as he rightly pointed out, Brigadier Pramod ji, he talked about nobody could reach there within 48 hours. We all understand that community is the first responder. I won't go back to like 2005 earthquake, but recent experience from 2014 floods and COVID-19. Even the government officials, I remember the former chief minister of our state, erstwhile state, he publicly said that it was the community that actually evacuated them safely. And then we all understand every time there are disasters, the first thing that is affected is communication. So we don't have means of communication to communicate to each other, and community is the the first responder. In 2014, it was community that responded, and fortunately, we had very less number of casualties, considering the the level of floods we had in 2014. And we Alpha International, we started school safety as a COVID-19 response, but the idea again came from the community. Some of the community members, they started community classes, when everyone was affected by the COVID-19 emergency. We know the education sector was one of the major sectors that was hit, and kids were struggling, the families were struggling. So somebody had this idea of starting community schools, and then we as an organization, we capitalized on it and we took it forward, and then we formalized it to uh, start in all other districts of Jammu and Kashmir, in fact, in collaboration with the government. And I would say there are a couple of things that I would like to mention. One of them is certainly, during the floods or earthquake and the COVID-19 situation, we have this experience where local communities, and we have these village level committees, we have mohalla committees, and some of the religious institutions, like we have local mosques, we had gurdwaras, we had temples, who actually came forward and gave shelter and food and everything to the people who were affected by these disasters. That's one of the best examples, and I would like to request authorities to formalize that collaboration, because we know every time we had such situation, these were the people who came forward, and this would be something very sustainable that we can take forward. I would like to request uh, organizations, NGOs, and the government as well to collaborate and formalize this type of partnership with them. And one of the things that one of the fellow colleagues he talked about, that we all have to be concerned, is the global warming. I don't know if you guys know, last week, Srinagar city was one of the hottest in entire country. And we as a society, generally, we are prepared for winters, but we are not prepared for this kind of summer, this kind of heat. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll see the temperature rising more. So this is the time when we need to prepare ourselves, we as an organizations, together with the government. And government also needs to work on this, because I remember, as I said, this was the hottest city in the country. So we have a situation which is coming to us in near future, where we'll be affected by this global warming and the heat waves. And especially it will be very difficult for us, because this part of the country, Kashmir, we are not prepared for this type of weather. So, my experience says that we need to collaborate more with the local institutions. We need to do lots of capacity building and training of community members, because they are the ones who are the first responders. And we need to formalize these type of partnerships. That's what has been helpful. The experience I have from 2005 earthquake, and then 2014 floods, and then the COVID-19 emergency. I know this topic is very important and it requires a lot of discussions, and I have a lot to share, but I know we have time constraint. And I have my colleague, Mr. Rajiv Khajuria from Jammu. He'll be talking about our experience in Jammu as well as in the region. So I'll stop here, but I'll be happy to answer if anybody has any comments or suggestions or any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehran. And uh, I'd like to invite your colleague also, who's from Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Rajiv Khajuria, for sharing his part on the role of NGOs and DRR in building community resilience. So, Mr. Rajiv, can you please take over?
Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah. Good afternoon, friends. At the outset, I thank Team Sphere India for organizing this regional level platform with diverse stakeholders to strategize and address the challenges of the current emergency situation and anticipate future risks and challenges. In Jammu and Kashmir, we face not only natural disasters like avalanches, floods, and landslides. Brigadier P.K. Singh sir referred to the snow tsunami, but I will also briefly add to the cost of living along the LOC. We also face man-made emergencies in border areas in the shape of cross-border firing, mining, blasts, and so on, which leads to the closure of schools and many more difficulties. My friend from Kashmir, Mr. Mehran Khan, CEO of Alpha, has briefly given an account of what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. And in the interest of time, as we are nearing the time of vote of thanks, I will not remain much between you and the remaining speakers. So I was allotted with the topic of role of NGOs in disaster risk reduction and building community resilience. And I think many speakers have already touched it. And Mr. Mehran, in his deliberation, referred to the response which NGOs usually undertake in Jammu and Kashmir. I will very briefly say that, Brigadier Singh has also referred, that NGOs can operate at the grassroots level, leveraging their deep connections within communities to identify vulnerabilities, educate the people, and implement sustainable strategies for disaster preparedness and response. And one more thing I would like to mention out of what I was to say, that NGOs ensure that plans are inclusive, taking into account needs of vulnerable groups like women, children, the elderly, and the people with disabilities. So I think I will end here in the interest of the time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajiv, and I take pardon from all the speakers for not giving you enough time to share all your thoughts and presentations as we had planned. I think it could have been a more, in terms of timing and sharings, but I'm really sorry for not giving you the optimum time, because we have already crossed 4 p.m. and it's very important to stick to the timing also. Again, I thank you and hope if there will be queries during the question and answer sessions, we'll take those questions from the participants as well. Now, since the sessions on CSOs is over with the sharings from Dr. Mehran and Mr. Rajiv, we'll move forward to the community session. We'll be having the next session, voices from the ground zero. We'll be having updates from the ground, any good practices of preparedness and responses, and stories worth replicable. And for this, we have three speakers from different states. So we have Mr. Amar Kumar from East Champaran, Bihar. We have Mr. Devendra Rawat, who is Program Associate of CASA, and he is based in Chamoli, Uttarakhand. And we have Ms. Sindhu Luna Manu Sukhani. She is Program Coordinator with Doers in Himachal Pradesh. So I'd request these three speakers from different states to kindly share their stories on any good practices and updates from the grounds. And please try to conclude in 2 minutes each. So thank you so much, Ms. Sindhu, if you'd like to initiate.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. I'll just share my screen. And yes, I will be quick about this. I hope this is visible.
Yes, started to be sharing. Yes, now it's visible.
Okay. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Sindhu Luna Mansukhani. I'm a program coordinator for Doers, which is a humanitarian organization operating in the Himalayan region of India. And we work in DRR, CCA, and humanitarian response under the three thematic areas of resilience, sustainability, and empowerment. So, very quickly, early on, we had decided at Doers that we have to go beyond a response which comes after a disaster has occurred and focus on preparedness. So we invest our resources to basically build community resilience, and we work with schools, communities, and institutions in Himachal Pradesh across the state. And one of our goals is to build community resilience through DRM, disaster risk management. And for that, we have our programs, the key flagship program being Safety Through Emergency Preparedness, wherein we train communities, rural communities and urban communities on responding to disasters and to prepare for disasters. Then these are some images from our STEP workshops that were conducted at in the rural area of Himachal Pradesh. Then next we have DeepRed, which is Data Ecosystem for Effective Planning and Response During Emergencies and Disasters. Under this, we basically train stakeholders on disaggregated data management. So if you can see here, in the first instance, it says, the subhead says that over 250 people feared dead in Kinnaur. And the second one says, gives a more complete picture with disaggregated data. So considering that data is one of the major gaps in terms of disasters in our country and in the state too, we are training stakeholders on this. This is one of our workshops that we did with the NDRF in Delhi. And we also build community resilience through the micro mapping program, wherein we map critical facilities, infrastructures, and resources on the ground. This project is hyperlocal. So this is one of our projects that was undertaken in the Ani subdivision development block of Kullu district in Himachal Pradesh, wherein we trained several volunteers from the development block to micro map resources. So this is an example of the final product of micro mapping, where you can see all the resources that are mapped on the ground. This helps governments and other stakeholders to prepare for disasters, to be prepared for any hazards that may occur. This is another version of the final product of micro mapping, where you can see the contextual information about each facility and infrastructure and resource that you have in a particular area. This gives governments a complete picture and facilitates the decision making in real time. Then there is also the aspect of preparedness for response, that you prepare for response when a hazard has occurred. So under this, we liaise with stakeholders as part of anticipatory action, which means, suppose to give you an example, now that the monsoons have come, so before the monsoons were to arrive, we already began our liaisons with stakeholders like funders and the government departments in Himachal Pradesh, so that we are ready for whatever response that may have to be undertaken in a disaster situation. Then we focus on response which is need-based and effective. So under this, we have a mechanism that comprises the following process. Once you receive an event information, you verify the information, then you conduct household level needs assessment using customized forms. These are forms that we have developed, and this is something that we take pride in, that this is something that we are able to do on the ground and not just go blindly in. Then we prepare context-specific proposals in record time to serve diverse needs of the communities on the ground. So we ensure that there is no gap between what is being given and what is required by the community. And then we execute the relief operations. So under this, we had a campaign which started last year, Help Himachal. And under this, not only do we invite volunteers to help in our disaster relief efforts, but we also fundraise and handle all other aspects in terms of response. This is an example of a needs assessment form that we have created to conduct household level assessments. In this picture, you can see that whatever we are saying that we are doing, we are actually doing it on the ground. So this is a spot where a landslide had occurred, and Team Doers is conducting a needs assessment. 7 people died here. There were 3 houses. If you could see on the left side, it is portion of the houses that were buried under the landslide are visible. Then this is another needs assessment being conducted after a fire that occurred in Daroti village here. So it's not just natural hazards that we are focusing on, but other disasters also once we are in the response phase. This is the relief project that was undertaken by Doers last year, where we distributed disaster relief kits to 1,400 families across 5 districts of Himachal Pradesh. And this is a stakeholder consultation to identify suitable sites for the construction of interim relief shelters. This was in District Solan of Himachal Pradesh. So considering all that we have done, there have been some successes and there have been some challenges. I'll take you through the successes that we have had. Although there has been a lack of funding in terms of preparedness because funders are not that much interested in it, we have still continued our work on a voluntary basis, and we have worked towards resilience among the communities and the government stakeholders and private stakeholders by building their capacities. We have managed to convince funders to provide customized relief kits during our response project last year. This includes providing customized foam bedding, which is suitable for Himachal Pradesh's climate, and providing customized water containers so that people can store water in a post-disaster scenario. Then we also begin response with a stakeholder consultation and household level rapid needs assessment. What this does is it ensures that the community is getting exactly what it needs and not standardized kits, which oftentimes are more suited for plain areas and not for mountainous areas. And through the projects that we have carried out in response, we have developed our capacities and competencies, and we have learned our lessons to come back better and be prepared for any event that may occur this year and in the future. In terms of challenges, we have observed that there is a lack of interest in resilience building activities among funders. So getting funding, securing funds for that is an uphill task. Then we also have lack of timely support in the form of data and resources from several stakeholders. To give you an example, when it comes to securing land to implement any shelter relief projects, it becomes hard. It creates a lot of delays to provide safe lands and execute projects like this. And then, yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. I hope the speed of my presentation didn't hamper your understanding.
No, absolutely. And thank you so much, Ms. Sindhu, because in a very short time you presented all your good efforts and good success stories, some of the challenges also. And we would like to inform you that we are also doing rapid needs assessment as per the need in different states. So definitely we can collaborate to avoid any kind of duplication, or maybe we can complement your efforts as well in those particular districts and target areas. And wonderful job you are doing, and I keep hearing about those works also. So thank you again for sharing very quickly all your presentations and updates from your organizations. And now we would like to move. Thank you so much. And we would like to move forward with another speaker from the ground, who is Mr. Amar Kumar, who is a social worker at East Champaran district in Bihar, and he's quite very much active in sharing all the stories and updates from his region and concerns also. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
आज के आयोजन के लिए इंडिया के सभी साथियों को धन्यवाद, और मुझसे पहले जितने भी साथी आज मैं बिहार से हूँ, और बिहार जो सर से सीने तक, पेट से पांव तक एक जगह हो तो कहें कि दर्द इधर होता है। तो इस शेर के साथ मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ, सबसे पहले गैप के संबंध में थोड़ी बात रखना चाह रहा हूँ कि आज समुदाय और प्रशासन कहें या सरकार कहें, उसके बीच एक बड़ा गैप है। इस गैप को भरे बिना हम किसी भी तरह के डिजास्टर को, अगर हम ये कम करने की बात सोचते हैं तो वो एक तरह से बेमानी साबित होगी। हमने जिन 10 गांवों में काम किया, उन गांवों में खास करके बंजरिया प्रखंड के जिन 10 गांवों की स्थिति में हम लोगों ने काम किया है, उन गांवों में अभी समुदाय अपनी तैयारियों से एक दूसरे की मदद के संदर्भ में सक्रिय हैं, और समुदाय के भागीदारी के बिना, समुदाय के सक्रियता के बिना और समुदाय के जानकारी के बिना हम किसी भी तरह के कार्यक्रम को एंड तक, उसकी सफलता तक पहुंचाने की कल्पना नहीं कर सकते हैं। हमने देखा है कि छोटी सी कहानी है उस गांव की। वो गांव गंडक नदी के किनारे बसा हुआ है, आबादी लगभग 10,000 के आसपास है और बिल्कुल ही नदी के किनारे है, वहां कोई बांध नहीं है। जब भी बाढ़ आती है उन इलाकों के लोग पहले डूब जाया करते थे, लेकिन उनकी एक अच्छी बात ये थी कि पहले से ही उनको पता था कि सबसे ऊंची जगह कौन सी है, वहां लोग चले जाते थे। धीरे धीरे वहां आबादी बढ़ती गई, जरूरतें बढ़ती गई और इस बीच में वहां चुनौतियां भी बढ़ती गई। तो इसके लिए वहां के लोगों ने बाजाब्ता जो है, मस्जिद की कमेटी है, मंदिर की कमेटी है, उन कमेटियों के माध्यम से जब बाढ़ आने का समय हुआ करता था, वहां के बुजुर्गों को पता होता था कि नदी में पानी अब बढ़ना शुरू हो गया है। क्योंकि नदियों के पानी के रंग को बदलने से उसको देख करके लोग जज करते थे कि यहाँ अब बाढ़ आने वाली है। और जैसे ही इस बात की जानकारी होती थी, लोग जो हैं मस्जिद के मीनारों से, मंदिर से बाजाब्ता जो है, अजान के वक्त, अजान के बाद और आरती के बाद जब घंटियां बज जाती थी मंदिरों में, उसके बाद माइक से लोग अनाउंस करते थे और अनाउंस करके समुदाय को जानकारी देते थे कि बाढ़ आने वाली है, आप सचेत हो जाएं, आप ऊंची जगहों पे चले जाएं। तो इस तरह की कहानियां जो है हमारे समुदाय में भरी पड़ी है और हम सभी लोग जानते हैं कि जो मानव का जो विकास हुआ वो नदियों के किनारे हुआ, झरनों के किनारे हुआ, जंगलों के किनारे हुआ और आज यही सारा चीज जो है हमारे लिए चुनौती है। तो हमें लगता है कि हम सबसे ज्यादा जो सरकार पर आश्रित हो गए हैं, इन चीजों से हमें थोड़ा बचना चाहिए, नंबर एक। नंबर दो कि अभी पिछले सेशन में जो हमारे एक्सपर्टीज लोगों ने जो चर्चा की, जियो बात कहना चाहते हैं कि कोविड-19 के बाद, कोविड-19 के समय आप सभी ने देखा होगा कि जियो एनजीओ की एक बड़ी भागीदारी तो वंचित वर्ग के लोग थे, जो जरूरतमंद थे, उन तक पहुंचने का काम लोगों ने किया था। तो इस तरह के बहुत सारी कहानियां हमारे समाज में पड़ी हुई है। लेकिन विडंबना है कि 22 के बाद, 23 के बाद इस जियो एनजीओ के हाथ जो हैं बांध दिए गए हैं। हम बहुत खुल करके इन बातों को रखे हैं और हो सकता है कि इन बातों से बहुत सारे लोग सहमत नहीं हो, बहुत लोग सहमत भी हों। तो हम इन्हीं बातों के साथ अपनी बात को विराम देते हैं। धन्यवाद। समुदाय की भागीदारी से ही हम आपदाओं को कम से कम तर कर सकते हैं। धन्यवाद।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और आपने बहुत ही सही कहा कि समुदायों की भागीदारी के बिना हम जो भी हमारा एफर्ट्स है डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का, ह्यूमैनिटेरियन रिलीफ का, रिस्पॉन्स का, वो हम अचीव नहीं कर सकते हैं। और आप भी अपने तौर पे काफ़ी एक्टिवली नॉर्थ बिहार की सिचुएशंस को रेगुलरली स्टेट लेवल पे, नेशनल लेवल पे शेयर करते रहते हैं। एंड उसके लिए भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और आपने बहुत अच्छे पॉइंट्स शेयर किए बहुत कम समय में, तो थैंक यू अगेन। और हमारे नेक्स्ट स्पीकर हैं मिस्टर देवेंद्र फ्रॉम कासा, हिमाचल प्रदेश, चमोली। इफ यू आर देयर, और Vishnu, if he has left, so we can move forward with the question answer session and maybe the concluding remarks. Mr. Devendra, if you are there.
I think he's facing some technical difficulties. We can go with.
That's all right, no issue. Indeed, we have many more esteemed participants and speakers, experts also there with us. I can see Mr. Subir and Ms. Divya Gupta, Dr. Hina also joined, and from different states, Malik Abrar is there. So I'd love to have one word from each one of you in a few seconds, if you can kindly come forward and share one points, and then we can move forward with the closing remarks. So I'd request Ms. Divya Gupta if you can kindly share any point from your side. Or Mr. Subir Kumar, who is also IAG convener of Jharkhand. Sir, if you would like to share something, any remarks that will add to the value of this consultation, or maybe any one outcome, key takeaways, or for say any one of the participants, if they have any queries or anything to share, they can unmute themselves and share forward any of their observations, recommendations, suggestions, points. Anyone from other states, if they have any kinds of needs or any kind of suggestions in these times of emergency, because already we have floods in different states. So how we can come up with some kind of strategies or lessons or maybe practices that we can follow in those states. So just for the update, I would like to share that Sphere Day is already in coordination with IGSM. We are doing or assisting them in their rapid needs assessment. In UP also, we had a good training of volunteers on joint rapid needs assessment. And recently, IIG UP also held one important session with their volunteers and different organizations to map the level of responses and preparedness in different districts. So these are some of the updates from our side, and Sphere India basically works on coordination, collaboration, building partnerships, multi-stakeholders and multi-sector collaborations. So these are one of our important activities in times of emergencies. And we at Interagency Coordination, we work on monitoring the emergency situations in the country. We release threats, we do joint rapid needs assessment and training of volunteers as per the need. So I think if there is no query, we will move forward to the closing session of this today's consultation. And if someone else is there and if they wish to share something, that's fine. Or maybe we can move forward with the closing remarks. I guess, yeah, Mr. Mehran.
No, Altamash, I was saying that since there's like nobody available to talk, we have already passed the time. It was supposed to be 4. We are already 4:35 almost. So I would request if we can have the concluding remarks.
Sure, absolutely. We have already, I think, 30 minutes passed to our desired time. So thank you so much, everyone. I'd like to conclude today's session, and I'd like to extend my heartfelt thank you to every one of you and all the participants, all these team speakers who joined today. And we got very important and insightful sharing from every one of you. I'd like to also come up with a outcome report or summary report of this consultation. I'll share with you all very soon in next two days. So there are some good strategies or some kind of collaboration opportunities also that were discussed during this consultation. And to every of the speakers, whether it is from the government side, Mr. C.N. Prabhu, or our chairperson, Dr. Bhanu, and Mr. V.R. Raman from New Delhi, CBGA, Dr. Piyush Rotela, the former executive director, Mr. C.N. Prabhu, the director of Bihar Mausam Seva Kendra, Brigadier P.K. Singh, who is former senior consultant with UPSG, and all those speakers who shared their important suggestions, observations, their own experiences to make these consultations valuable and to add to this important outcome of this deliberations. And Mr. Rajiv Khajuria from JNK, Mr. Mehran from JNK, and Mr. Amar from Bihar, Ms. Sindhu from Himachal Pradesh, and all those participants for their time, despite that we crossed our set timing. It's already 4:30 now. So again, my heartfelt thanks to you and to my colleagues at Fair India, also Mr. Vishnu, who is the program coordinator, and he worked tirelessly at the back end to make this consultation fruitful and successful. So once again, thank you from my side, and I'd like to conclude today's session, and we will end this session now. So maybe in near future, we'll meet at some other platforms and discussions.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great evening ahead.
You do. Thank you so much.